My next self-protection inspired Christmas vlog comes from nostalgia, and nostalgia seems to be somewhat baked into Christmas, probably because of its connection to tradition. So people also say, connect Christmas to children. So obviously people think back to their childhood, and that's where a lot of this comes from. So for better or for worse, nostalgia is tied into Christmas, and discussion on nostalgia is reserved for another day. It does have a certain toxicity to it, but for the purpose of this vlog, I'm thinking very favorably back on Christmases past. So in the mid to early 80s, there was a series of magazines and accompanying cassettes called Storyteller, produced by Marshall Cavendish. And they were read by various actors, well-known actors. I mean, people like Brian Blessed, Tim Curry, Sheila Hancock, Richard Briers, etc., that were recorded for Storyteller. And one of the stories in the collections, one of the many that I remember fondly and still listen to, is a story called What Wanda Wanted by an individual called Felix Culper. So this author, I've looked up, and I don't think it's the same person, the one that comes up on in my searches on the internet. But anyway. And I think it was a modern story. It might have been a story that was written for Storyteller. It does come across as being traditional in its style, the way that it's all it's done, the way that it's the whole tale rolls out. There is a book called Whatever Wanda Wanted out there, which is not the same. That's a preschool book, so don't get the two confused. It's got quite a different sort of moral to this particular story. Anyway, yeah, spoilers. So check it out on YouTube or wherever for Storyteller. It's not difficult to find. What Wanda Wanted, Storyteller, look for it. So spoilers, this is the plot. Spoiled girl, it's around Christmas time. She clearly is pressuring her parents about all the things she wants, and they're having to explain to her that she can't have everything that she wants, and she wants to know why, and it all seems to be incredibly unfair to her. And so she goes to bed on Christmas Eve night, not in a good mood, annoyed that preparing herself for the disappointment of not getting everything that she wanted. Then, of course, she goes to sleep, and suddenly she is granted the wish of having everything that she wants, and she sees a world that is dictated by her wants, all the demands that she's made. And some of them are things like there's obviously very expensive things, and all these presents that she wants, but there's things like she wants Christmas to be every day, and that's where she meets old Father Time. And so now you've got a whole world that is stuck in winter. It's like stuck in an ice age, because essentially it's got to be a white Christmas, obviously, and it has to happen every single day. And she sees all the consequences of her actions, all the people who suffer because of having all her wants being met. So all her wants are met, and everyone else is going without in some shape or form. It has an immediate impact upon them. So again, obviously, the moral of the story is that she wakes up being a lot more of a grateful person, more empathetic individual, someone who realizes that to obviously the errors of greed. It's quite a clear moral. Now, what on earth has any of that got to do with self-protection? Jamie, you rambling fool, you might be asking. Well, there are several things. Okay, so first of all, in the situation with Wanda, saying no. Okay, so straight away, if we look at Wanda as the straightforward antagonist, being able to say no to somebody is one of the strongest lessons you can learn when dealing with, especially against predatory violence and toxicity in your life. The word no, and being aware of people who discount the word no is important. So from that perspective, that's one of the basic things that we will teach when we're looking out for warning signs in individuals, people who might have predatory behaviors. They discounted the word no, which of course aligns it a lot with sales techniques, unfortunately, and that's something I covered in a piece called The Way of the Wolf, and will probably be more extensively covered in my book, The Prince Charming Offensive and Other Non-Fairy Tales. A quick plug there for you, ahead of next Christmas, maybe. Anyway, what you're looking at here then is a situation where you're saying no, and somebody is ignoring that no. So it's immediately that should tell you that that's a person who's trying to take control of you, trying to take control of the situation in a hostile way. The power of no. Before you look at any of the other manipulatory tactics, this is the one that I want people to take away from, saying no. On the other side of it, learning it from the perspective of accepting the word no is important. Okay, this is this self-defense as defense of the self. So it can get very frustrating when people refuse this, when people say no. When you want to do something, again, Christmas is a time for learning in that respect. When you're trying to get people to join in things that you think are going to be really enjoyable, things that are going to be fun, and you want them to do it. And I know exactly how that feels, but when this comes about, you think of ways of trying to get things going and get people all happy. And do you think what's going to work better for the atmosphere? What's going to work better for everybody? And sometimes some people are going to be, no, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to be involved in this. And there is an acceptance of that's important. Sometimes there might be other things going on where that person might need might actually there might be something else going bad in their life, and they need a friend just to talk to, and that's the beginning of it, if you like. You've noticed that there's this kind of especially if it's not their usual behavior, so it's looking out for your friends at Christmas. So sometimes that no can be the beginning of that. It can be beginning of a time for not for you to persist with you wanting to do what you think is good for them or good for you or good for everybody else, but rather there is something going on here, and this then opens the door to other things. That certainly needs to be within our self-protection awareness. So there's that. It's also, from our perspective, it's to quote a cheesy 1990s martial arts movie, you should learn to live with disappointment. It builds character, and that can certainly be the case. Sometimes it can be like you feel like someone's really let you down because they've refused to do something, or they said no about something. But if that's their decision, then that's their decision, and your acceptance of that might be a time for you to look back at yourself and decide, hold on, how am I behaving? What am I doing? Do I need to be a little bit more thoughtful about all of this? I've talked about it. If you see our Animal Instincts program for teaching children and teenagers, we cover this quite extensively, not only in using no as a weapon or as a deciding tool, if you like, on a person's behavior, but also on accepting it ourselves and teaching our students to be able to accept no. So there's that part of it. And if you're interested in booking me for 2026, please get in contact. I offer a variety of bespoke services in self-protection. That's personal security and self-defense, ideal for the individual, small group, or your business. I have provided services to a wide variety of different institutions, businesses, both nationally and internationally. In the meantime, please have a restful, fun, joyous, and safe festive season.